So welcome everyone. Here's the second interview with James McQuitty. For the people who have not watched the first one, it's not obliged. We're going to talk today about his latest book, The Great Awakening, the same title as McQuitty's last documentary. James, can you repeat a little bit, a little biography about you? Are you a medium, or you just went to many medium sessions and collect medium knowledge?
A bit of each. I wouldn't describe myself as a medium because most people's expectations of a medium, certainly in the UK, is somebody who gets up on a platform and gives out messages to various people from relatives more commonly. But I do, or I can, or I have practiced spiritual healing. And if you're a healer, you're a medium. People don't really realize that because it's channeling the same thing. It's instead of channeling like a trance medium would channel a spirit talking through them, a healing medium channels energy that flows through them. And as I mentioned in the first interview with you, which I thoroughly enjoyed, thank you, I can receive what I'd call now downloads from the spirit life. I didn't know what to call them when I first got one. It was just like an amazing revelation. It was like a whole story flashed into me while I was in a semi-sleep and semi-waking state. I was trying to go to sleep in a way, but I said a prayer and asked for any evidence that they could channel information to me, and that came in like a flash. So they haven't actually done that again since, not that I recollect anyway, unless I was too far asleep. But they do sow seeds in my subconscious, especially, and sometimes I get pointers from people just on the street or wherever. It's what we call synchronicity. You know, most people would call it a coincidence, but it's more than that, because sometimes I get the same thing over and over and over until I take notice of it. so mediumistic, but I've also learned a lot from other mediums that have of a good quality, the ones I regard as a good quality. You know, you have to pay attention when you're going to meetings, because not everybody's at the same level. Some are very good at delivering evidential messages, but they don't know much about the philosophy and teachings, and some don't really know how to get a really 100% clear message that so that perfectly well the person that they're claiming they're speaking to is definitely there. Sometimes they're a bit vague. There's different levels and different qualities of mediumship, which is what I've covered in one of my books called How Psychics and Spiritual Mediums Work, or words to that effect. So I'm forgetting the title myself now.
Yeah, I don't think it has in the list now.
I'll see if it's on my little list in here. Yeah, How Psychics and Mediums Work, the Spirit and the Aura.
Yes, the auric, okay, yeah. yes, I think, I think I know which, how psychic and mediums work, the spirit and the aura. Brilliant. And this is your last book, The Great Awakening.
That's the most recent one, the one that deals with what is going on in the world at the moment from two different fronts, as we mentioned before as well. There's the dark side, and there's you could call it the light side, or possibly the right side. The goodies versus the baddies, good versus evil, etc.
Yes. The left-hand path and the right-hand path also.
Yeah, so
they say that.
The idea of the book is so that people are aware of the dark agenda, so they can avoid cooperating with it.
Good.
You don't want to cooperate or comply with things that are not really for your best.
Exactly.
Best everything. Yeah, or anything. if it isn't for your good or for your benefit or for the at least for the benefit of the vast majority of people genuinely, not just because they say it is, because these people do lie, um, then you don't want to comply with it. And of course, you can comply quite easily if you don't realise you're being lied to and tricked.
Right, exactly.
So that was the point of the book. But the 3/4 of, or thereabouts, whatever, 5/8, get too mathematical. The majority of it was dealing with what the spirit guides say, which is the subtitle for the book, because what the spirit guides say, and these are ones that I regard as extremely reliable. I did sift through various ones that I didn't know to see if what they were saying resonated with me, whether it felt to me that they were honest and reliable and they weren't just, should we say, fantasists or only partially receiving and making the rest up themselves. I wanted ones that were, I wanted ones that were genuinely 100% definitely tuning in and receiving messages from the spirit world. In these cases, they were all trance mediums, or in America, they usually call them channelers. And the messages they delivered were highly reliable, and they were highly respected mediums, all of them. One of the early ones I quote in the book is White Feather, who speaks through Robert Goodwin. And I know Robert. I've known Robert for quite a few years now, because and he's 100% reliable.
Okay.
Goes into a very deep trance, and the messages that come through, and they've been coming through for about 45 years.
Wow, 45 years.
Something like that, I think it is, if not more now. The years fly past so quickly. And so we can rely on him. And he was speaking, what included in the book, back in 2008, I think it was, if not before.
Oh,
because
already in 2008 he was speaking about this.
Yeah, he was speaking about the dark agenda and how people were trying to control us and so forth. And it's featured in one of the early parts of the book, because I tried to put things into chronological order.
I saw it.
The earliest communication onwards, and White Feather's about number 3 in or something like that. He starts off, and you find it's from a book that I've quoted those.
Augustine is to 2019, White Cloud 2019, Dr. Pebbles.
No, Dr. Pebbles,
2018, yes, White Feather 2011. And 2010, 2008, yes, Magnus 2000, yes, Magnus spoke, and Rudolf Steiner, of course, 1970.
Rudolf Steiner was warning us about things over 100 years ago.
Yes, more than 100 years even.
As I put in the book, it was probably quite confusing to those who turned up at his lectures that he delivered, when he was telling them about the dangers of what was
about to happen. Yes,
going to face humanity at a point in the future, because they all probably were sitting there thinking, well, I haven't seen any of that. And of course, because it didn't start unfolding until recently.
He was the founder of anthroposophy. So the people who went to his talks, they were very much they were used to him speaking different things about energy and initiation. So I believe they believed him. But it was, when you speak about something in the future, they probably say, okay, I don't have to worry about that now, isn't it? It's like listening to Alex Jones 20 years ago. You said, oh, it's not going to happen this now. Well, forget about it. And then it happens. And then I said, oh, it's quite early to happen this, isn't it?
But it shows us that everything is known in the spirit world.
Oh, yes.
Certainly by those who are paying attention in the spirit world.
Yes. And this was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Why do you think, because I'm not talking to all the spirit world right now. I'm talking to you. Why do you think some spirits spoke about it and some spirits didn't speak about it?
I think it's because they're on a different agenda. If everybody spoke about it, it might be a bit of overkill. You know,
Oh, yeah.
a lot of them just simply want to carry on with the basic teachings, which are actually far more important in the long run. That life is eternal and we're all spirit beings, and they wanted to carry on teaching that part. And of course, the evidential mediums. There's no point them from a platform delivering a message. Here's a message from your aunt, and she's saying,
Yes.
"Oh, watch out for those dark agenda people."
They were not going to say that, of course.
It
Yeah.
wouldn't reach many people. They'd probably think the medium was mad or something. So it's horses for courses as an expression. So there's different mediums delivering different messages. I'm sure there's lots more than I've quoted that were speaking of the dark agenda and warning, giving us warnings about what was coming, and what we should do. Basically, don't comply, stand your ground, and remain free. Don't don't just accept everything that people who claim authority tell you at face value, because as I say, lots of them are vested interests. They don't tell the truth.
Yeah, there are so many mediums in America, in Australia, in England. So you could not even possible know all the messages that were talked about or said about this agenda, of course.
Yeah, there's just so many. I'd like to, if I ever include it in more in another book, I'd like to have more and different mediums, but I'd have to know that they were ones I trusted and believed
of course,
in.
yes.
Most of the ones that I've quoted from are people that I linked up with on social media, like Facebook and so forth.
Okay.
And I've been looking into what they say for a long while and listening to their talks. I mean, pre 2020, some of them are delivering, not necessarily talking about the dark agenda, but delivering philosophy and so forth.
Yes.
Especially Robert Whitefeather, because I mean, my connection with him, as I say, goes back quite a while, because I live on the Isle of Wight and his daughter lives over here, so he visits over here.
Okay.
So it's quite often I've seen him, and also I joined his online meetings quite often.
Oh, great.
And Whitefeather's still talking about the agenda. His most recent Zoom again meeting that I was part of, session, was talking about AI and how it can be used again. Yeah, and how it's really, I mean, it's designed really to be used against us when it suits those of the dark agenda to do so. It's a way of spying on us, really, in many ways, linked in with 5G, and there's all sorts. I mean, I have shared some video clips from that meeting online.
Could you say where we can find it? Where
there's his introductory talk about it on my YouTube channel.
Oh, so you have a YouTube channel on your name, right?
Yeah, under my name, James McQuitty.
Okay.
And I've shared several clips from it on BitChute.
Oh, BitChute, you have a channel.
Yeah, if you know BitChute. And on there, I'm under the title James the Author, or like all one word equivalent.
Oh, is it your channel in BitChute?
Yeah, James the Author.
James the Author, all together.
Yeah, I don't have gaps.
Okay, I'm gonna look for it and put the link in the description.
Yeah, I can send you links as well.
Okay. No, I think your YouTube I found, but the BitChute I didn't look for it yet. Okay.
Most of the clips from that are on BitChute, because they took them off of YouTube, and
Really?
yeah, they censored me, said you can't say that, and I'm banned from posting from there.
Let's see this video, how long it's gonna be. And I have a channel
Yeah,
also in BitChute and then in
yeah,
other in library also. So let's see this video, how
yeah,
long it's gonna be, but they probably won't pick it up. I wanted to ask you to start asking about the book because I read the whole book already.
yeah,
It's very
right.
interesting. In the beginning, you speak about Rudolf Steiner, the father of anthroposophy. And he says the soul will be made non-existent with the aid of drugs, of a drug. This is
Yeah,
very interesting
yeah.
because he could not have known, not only the future, but what he said. I don't know if you ever heard about Dion Fortune.
Sorry.
Dion Fortune? Dion
Uh,
Fortune. Okay, she was an occultist, and she wrote a book. She always went into she did a little bit of mediumship, not much, but she wrote a book about the genesis of the word, of universe and the word, and this book was channeled. And a certain time in this book, they said if the human is supposed to do epigenesis, epigenetics, which means when you are treated genetically many times, not once, but 2, 3, 4, 5 times, genetically, they start messing with your DNA.
yeah,
You actually cannot reincarnate. Your soul is made non-existent. It goes away. It doesn't go paradise, another frequency. No, it's completely erased. And I had already read the Rudolf Steiner texts, all his texts. So I read a lot of Rudolf Steiner, but I never paid attention to it until I saw in your book, and I said, "Oh my God, this is exactly what the spirit who dictated the book to Dion Fortune said, that once you have a lot of DNA treatment, your soul is completely erased. It goes away. The spirit that channeled that Dion Fortune channeled actually said that it would go away in a meteorite or in a star to go to another universe. It would completely leave. It would not be able to reincarnate. It was very interesting, very, very interesting. And also that he said materialistic physicians will be asked to drive the soul out of humanity. So he's really talking here about the soul, not only the body. He's speaking about the soul. Have you read other texts of Rudolf Steiner?
I have. I used to have a big book of a collection of his teachings, but over the years I gave most of my books away, so
Oh,
I haven't got them anymore. But you can find lots of Rudolf
oh
Steiner
yeah. Mm,
lectures online. They're
yeah.
actually there. Anybody can look at them or read them or
Yeah,
download them.
I encourage, and with the other thing that it really hit me that he says in this is a 1917 talk, he speaks about this, but he doesn't give a solution. He says this is going to happen, but he doesn't say what is going to happen. He's going to say everything will be all right. He doesn't say this. It's typical Rudolf Steiner. He was very spiritual, and he was very like, he gave the message and it's finished. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I wouldn't agree with the other lady who said that it will stop you reincarnating, because that wouldn't be in alignment with anything any of the other guides have ever said,
I know, but
or think.
Rudolf Steiner, he says that the
Well,
soul will
yeah,
be made non-existent. It's not that it's going to kill somebody. He says the soul will be made non-existent.
I think what he meant, or what it really means, even though I'm not sure how he was thinking in his own mind, but the fact that we wouldn't recognise it, it would block off all of our comprehension of it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that is one of their plans for the future. That obviously will never come about because they're not going to succeed in their
Right.
plans. But
Mm-hmm.
they wanted to eventually put a chip in people's
Right.
brains, and especially newborn, if possibly even born in incubated in a laboratory or
Right.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
special facilities.
Mm-hmm.
But that would also be a way of like it was like programming or teaching from right from birth that there is only the physical reality, and that
Right.
all ideas of a spirit life and the soul are irrational, and you
Mm-hmm.
need to be put away for as a mental having a mental problem.
Yes.
So I think he meant that's more, or at least that's the way that I would interpret it now.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he interpreted it that way, I don't know. But Whitefeather did touch on that in one of his talks. He mentioned the fact that you can't erase the soul. Soul is
Mm-hmm.
immortal.
Mm-hmm.
You can't drive it away. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're not even the entirety of our own soul while we're here.
Right.
We're only
Yes.
an aspect or a facet
Mm-hmm.
of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
The soul is really our whole soul, the real soul, is the higher, what we call the higher self or the oversoul,
Mm-hmm.
and the higher self or oversoul just sends a facet or a piece of itself
Mm-hmm.
basically down to earth to incarnate and gain from the experience.
Right.
You know, hopefully, well, gain some nice things, but also sometimes face some challenges. It's
To
I mean,
learn, we must have challenges to learn, isn't it?
yeah, I know. I mean, in one way, we're all completely mad. We're up there. We're up there in a beautiful, perfect world full of eternal love. No obstacles to overcome. We can learn still, but there's no suffering. As we get on Earth, and yet we say, well, pop down there a bit of me, and I'll experience suffering, pain, and God knows what else. We're totally mad. But there we are. The higher self doesn't mind
We're
because
here.
the higher self knows that it's all just a short stay. It seems like a long stay when you reach 70 something years old, and
Mm-hmm.
we know people that are older. A friend I visit is 89.
Oh,
I'll have
my
to
dad
play
is
him.
100.
Yes, is he
Yeah, my dad is
fantastic?
100, so
You,
he's
you're going to see him shortly.
yes, yes, yes. I'm going. I'm going.
Yeah, so I don't think I'd say 100% in my case. You can't obliterate the soul or stop reincarnation because you can reincarnate from the higher self.
Mm-hmm.
You're not reliant on the facet that's on the earth. You
Mm-hmm.
can't drive it out to the extent that it's extinct or thrown off into some other universe or something and can't make its way back
Right. Mm-hmm.
because you're permanently connected. The facet that we are down here on Earth is permanently connected with our higher
Right.
self.
Mm-hmm.
There is no separation.
Right.
We're one, just that we're like a stretched out bit
Mm-hmm.
of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We've popped down here on a cord effectively. It's
Mm-hmm.
an energetic link, and we're here to, as we've said, experience the joys or sorrows or
So
whatever of
life.
Earth life, whatever we've chosen,
Of
hopefully.
course. Yeah. And now difficult times. I found what White Feather really spot on. I see here in page 29. It was just in 2011, and he spoke about many which are viral in their origin. So we knew already what the shots would have inside, Really amazing. Really amazing. The medium is Robert Goodwin. I've never seen him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to see him. And Jonathan, also the guide of Elaine Thorpe. I really like him. I really is
Yeah.
very, very and he speaks about testing times. I really like what Jonathan said, because many people nowadays, they say to win the dark side, you have to do shadow work. So you have to work on yourself first. What do you think about this testing time that Jonathan, I interpret it like that you have to do your own work on yourself and see your shadow your left-hand path, your bad side, and work with it. What do you think about the testing time that Jonathan was talking about is about?
Yeah, well, as my wife downstairs is always saying, we have to face our dark side, or our own shadow side, or whatever you want to call it, our own demons, and learn how to live with what is part of us, but also not to obviously act on anything that would be negative or harmful to ourselves or others.
Others.
So you can, for instance, lose your temper, but that's how far you take it. You know, do you go screaming off and start violently attacking someone, or do you just think to yourself, hold on, count to 10, let's try and control myself and see if I can find another resolution and so forth. So in this sort of way, you can raise your own vibrations eventually by by basically programming yourself, we could call it, to respond in a nicer, kinder, more compassionate, loving way. So that's the idea, to raise your own vibrations, because when you raise your own vibrations, you're helping the collective. As I say, we're not really separate beings, we're part of the whole. We're all interconnected through energy, or one energy. There is only one energy. In reality, that's what we'd call God, or the source. And we're all aspects of that, and we all see ourselves as separate, but we're not. So when we raise our own vibration, we're influencing the whole. So the whole increases, the whole spectrum of earth life, human and animal and vegetation, everything is enabled to move up higher as well. I remember reading in a book from the 1950s, nothing to do with the Great Awakening as such, but even then they were saying there was a husband communicating with a wife, and she was saying she didn't feel that she was doing much in this lifetime. Because in past lifetimes she'd been a medium and so forth. In this lifetime she wasn't seemingly doing a lot. But that was exactly what he told her, by simply raising her own, well, he didn't use the word raising your own vibrations, but that's the equivalent, by simply being a nice person, being herself, basically, as a kind, loving person. She was helping everybody else without realizing it. And that's the thing. So even if you're not actually doing anything, you can be helping. You can be helping to
the collective.
Yeah, you can be helping the collective, and you can be helping to usher in a new, better world.
Of course. Oh, nice idea. Yeah, it's a good idea.
So that's the basics of it.
Very good. Thank you for this. It's very good. I've written articles on it, but you put it very simple and very, very correct.
As I said before, I'm a simple person.
No, it's important to be simple in these cases, you know. It's important. I marked the things that I thought it was important. Zach, the spirit guide of Alice Bailey, he spoke of a 26th dimension. So there are different dimensions. You've watched already many sessions and many channelings and many mediums. Are there many dimensions then?
I don't, I'm not really privy to the knowledge on how many dimensions, but whether the actual number is important, really. Zach at the moment, or had been coming through a lovely lady called Janet Trelaw.
Oh, Zach is not from Alice Bailey. I thought it was.
I can understand the confusion, because he previously came through Alice Bailey, as and is known in her writings as the Tibetan. So that was from one persona he used in channeling through Alice Bailey, and now through Janet Trelaw, he's using the persona for different earth lives that he'd had. He's using now the persona or the earth life of Zachariah,
Mm-hmm.
who previously lived in Syria. And so he's great to listen to. He's very amusing. He delivers things in a jovial way. But yeah, he says he's on the 26th dimension, which is outside of time and space, really.
Mm-hmm.
So he can see the past, the present, the future all as one. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously, we could get really confusing then. And you think, well, why is he concentrated on now?
I
But
see.
yeah, Dr. Peebles, he speaks through Summer Bacon, lovely lady in America that I've chatted with on Zoom. Dr. Peebles rather says he's from the 16th dimension. So they're the only two I know that actually mention dimensions.
I see.
Yeah, what Dever never says which dimension or realm he's from.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard any of the others actually particularly
Maybe it's a question to ask the next session.
Maybe, yeah. But I should imagine, no, I don't know for sure. I'll have to give it a go. I'd imagine he'd say, does it matter really?
It doesn't matter, but it's interesting, with a 26 dimension, and you think, wow, must be very far.
It sounds it, but I suppose if we're heading for the fifth, I think Zach did mention that some of these jumps they can be quite quick. It may not take us thousands or millions of years to reach the 26th.
Oh, okay.
We can learn quickly, especially once you get beyond the fifth, because it's like I don't know, pushed over one domino and then you've pushed over the hardest one, and then
Okay, then there
the
goes a
others
domino.
the others
Yes,
pick into position quicker if you can work in the right way, presumably.
Yeah, Zach again, he speaks on page 164, a cuboid, of a cube. And it's very interesting that some of the dark agenda, they believe they are they follow the Saturnians. They idolize the Saturn, the planet Saturn, and the cube is a symbol of prison, of being in a matrix. So it's very interesting that he spoke about the cube. Have you heard other spirits talking about cuboid or cube?
No, the cuboid. Yeah, he uses cuboid. Zach uses cuboid or quadrant. This quadrant of the universe, or this cuboid of the universe, being a bit different from some other parts of the universe, because we have linear time here. In some parts, in some parts they don't.
No.
Which is quite mind blowing. But it shows you the reason why it's great to study spirit philosophy, because you can go on searching and searching. When you think you've reached the end, you know everything you need to know. Suddenly you find there's something more.
Something more. Always is infinite philosophy.
So I don't know if he meant it in the sense of square in shape, as it were, or anything like that. I think it was more an intangible part of the entire universe. And of course, this is just one universe. There's more than one.
We are in infinite universe. Yes, definitely. On page 182, Dr. Peebles, he speaks about planting. He advises the people who are there to start to plant. And I always thought, oh, that's very good idea. And I plant here in my balcony and everything. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I should go to the community to plant. The point is, in some parts of the world, maybe the dark side picked on it. Some parts of the world, they're putting fire everywhere. So farms are being burned here in Greece, in Tunisia, in Morocco, in Algeria, in Portugal, in France, in Italy, in Brazil, and everywhere in the world. What do you think? Do you still think Dr. Peebles was right? We should try and go and plant and provide for ourselves.
If you possibly can, it'd be good, because not because necessarily there'd be famine that you won't be able to get anything. You know, that could be around the corner. Who knows?
Yeah.
But you know, I think it's more also the fact that you'll then be getting healthy food. You know, you can grow your own, or if you know, in a cooperative with others, you can plant up and be organic and have really healthy.
Sure. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
delicious. Whatever you plant
yeah,
is
yeah,
very good.
more nutritious and better for the body. So the more people that do that, the better. Mind you, I say that, and I haven't done it myself. I'm not a gardener, I'm afraid. But you know, I'm all for the idea. And you know, if there was somebody who wanted to start one locally, I'd gladly chip in whatever way I could, financially, and buy from them, and you know, to encourage them. But you know, so I think it's a good idea, especially because they want to close down certain farms. They've been doing a lot of, they've done a lot in Holland or the Netherlands.
Yes.
Yeah, closing down, stopping farmers. I mean,
besides the burning, here they have burned a lot of farms, burning and killing animals. They killed so many animals here in the last fires.
Yeah, well, there seems to be no end to their stupidity and darkness and evil, basically.
Yes.
They seem to want to destroy everything so that they can, you know, they know perfectly well they're all multi-billionaires, that they'll be in control of everything. You know, and if there's only limited resources, they're the ones who will be able to buy them.
Of course, they want to create famine.
Yeah, I mean, if there's only so many available and the price rockets, they're the ones who can afford it.
Of course,
so of course. Not bothered.
Terrible.
Yes, I mean, and they're having their synthetic food idea. You know, I don't eat animal meat anyway, so it doesn't bother me in one way. But you know, I know somewhere down the line, as you mentioned, the animals, that they're going to start attacking the animals more.
Oh yes, they started. They tried. Well, they tried during the pandemic. They start saying, "Oh yes, the cats are transmitting this virus," and they started hinting that we should put to sleep our animals. And then everybody started going like crazy, and they stopped. It's like they try things and then they see, "Oh, it's not working. Let's go back to the drawing board."
They won't give up on these ideas easily anyway. But they won't succeed. You know, in countries like over here, there's a lot of people with pets, dogs and cats. You know, we've got a cat that she did come in a moment ago. Saw her down here, but she went out. She went out again. She thought, "Oh, that sounds boring. I'll probably."
Mine is here.
Go and see if there's more food on the
go. Right.
But well, of course they want to get rid of pets somewhere down the line, because they want to get rid of farm animals, so there won't be any food for the pets unless this synthetic food would satisfy them.
With crickets, there's already pet food companies. They are using crickets into the pet food. I think it's terrible. I never saw my cats eating any cricket. I don't plan to eat crickets. I prefer to eat leaves than crickets.
Yeah, well, as you say, we don't eat meat, or certainly I don't, so it doesn't bother me in one way. But you know, if they kill all the animals, including the chickens, I won't get an omelette. You know, I like an omelette.
I see.
But I mean, you have to laugh at their stupidity in one way, because after they've killed us all off, or half of us off, won't the other half then start thinking, well, hold on, I don't like this anymore. I thought I was doing well out of this. Eventually they turn on each other, because as I put in the book, you know, they don't, you know, if somebody becomes surplus to their requirements and they're going to get rid of them next, you know, they're sort of. That's a very interesting idea. I have a friend,
a friend, Australian friend here. He says that there's already problems between them. The Windsors and is fighting with I don't know who. And I said, okay, I don't care what they're fighting for why, you know. I care what we're gonna do against them
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. There was. I mean, you can't trust the media either. It was stirring things up. You know,
Yes,
if they don't like someone, they start picking on them for some reason. So
yes.
basically, basically these days, 9 times out of 10, I think if they start picking on someone, that's the person who's probably the good one.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah,
yes, that's true. That's true. Let's go down your book and 190 page 193. Chief Joseph from the medium Catherine Steiner Cohen.
yeah.
Where is she from? America or UK?
She's in the USA,
USA.
America.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he speaks about the weather patterns. Do you think he's thinking about harp? Do you think he's already picking up on harp?
It could be, but I think it's more to do with how that we're destroying with the chemtrails and
Yes.
fertilizers and all the rest of it,
Mm-hmm.
destroying the lots of the environment and the potential and destroying the insects as a result as
Mm-hmm.
well. And it's having a knock-on effect, and that
Mm-hmm.
does also how we think. There's an awful lot to comprehend if you're new to this sort of thing. But
Right.
as we were saying earlier about the collective consciousness of people on Earth also affects the weather. So
Oh yeah.
if you start agitating people and causing all sorts of problems in one way or another, like by attacking um, the earth and the food supply
Sure. Yeah.
and the everything that's out there in nature by spraying and chopping things down and
Mm-hmm.
God knows what else they do, then you're also going to create a backlash of people's anger. And that
Yes.
anger is going into the collective, and it's having an effect on the weather and so forth.
Probably.
Plus,
Yeah.
plus, also, you've got to also remember, as difficult it may be to believe for some people, the earth spirit is also a living being,
Mm-hmm.
and the earth herself, we call her, uh, doesn't like being poisoned. You know,
Yes.
not you
Yes.
know, it's the
Mother
same as
Earth.
if we were
Gaia.
poisoned us. If we're poisoning ourselves, that's bad enough. But we're poisoning a giant globe, the Earth planet, known as Gaia or Gaia in by many people now, but also
Yes.
other names in other cultures, different
Yes.
names for the Earth spirit or the Earth. So as we attack nature, we harm everything. We harm ourselves
Yes.
ultimately because
Yeah. Yeah.
we're all interconnected.
Yes. These fires everywhere in the world is terrible, and they are putting it. They are putting in fires with dew or with arsonists, and you know it's harming it a little
Yeah,
bit. Okay, but it's harming the earth. All these fumes and the toxicity.
yeah, that's it. It's having a collective effect around the globe. I mean, and spraying the skies, as I briefly mentioned, the chemtrails. If people don't know about that, they need to look up sometimes and see them. They're not normal
Yes, the chemtrail.
vapors.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they're chemicals, and they're known to be not good for people and not good for anything,
Yeah,
any
aluminum
life
and
on Earth.
barium.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's different people have monitored what's in them at different times. Who knows whether they change the formula at any time?
Well,
They
they
can
have
put anything in.
nanotechnology also in the
Yeah, yeah,
chemtrails.
yeah. You can drop in illnesses, virus, bacteria, anything.
Yes, yes,
Anybody out in it can get ill. You can't
yes.
trust them. You can't trust these people. I'm afraid
No, no. Have a glass of water. I'm getting you to talk so
they're,
much.
yeah, they're psychopaths.
They're
But,
psychopaths.
but
Yeah.
to be any other name on it, really. I mean, a lot of them are in it just for the money and don't realise how bad it is. But as I say, they think they're okay, but they won't be necessarily in the long run.
No, no. Have a drink because you talked a lot. Just explaining that your book is not only spirit talking. James also put in chapter 4 the dark agenda, and then he puts this question, and I have put the question also for him. What do you think? What does the elite want? Why do they do that?
I think it's right. It's the power, money, and control. I mean, they've really got the money, but for some reason they seem to like more and more. And otherwise, it's the power and the control. They want to control every aspect of everybody's
Yes,
life. You know, and
yes,
as we were saying at the start, they'd love to put a chip in everybody's brain and control us literally. Now, I've
yes,
seen footage, you know, that they've already experimented. They've been experimenting for decades, way back in 50s, 60s. They were implanting chips into
yes.
animals, and that
Hmm.
they can stop a charging ball, basically,
Yes,
make it just
yes.
stop and freeze on the spot.
Hmm.
If they can do that, and imagine if they put one in every person's brain, you know, even though the brain isn't the consciousness, it's a way of controlling the physical body,
Yes,
stopping it doing
yes.
what it wants to do.
Well, there
So
was a program by Jesse Ventura. I don't know if you ever heard about it, Conspiracy Theorist. And he once interviewed a man who had been attacked by these weapons. The man used to listen to voices telling him to do this or that. And then I did psychology in Brazil, and you see so many people that say, "Oh, the spirit came, and a bad spirit, the demon came and told me to kill such and such," like the one who tried to kill Reagan. And you ask yourself, was it mentally was the man mentally ill, or maybe they were experimenting with him like they did with MK Ultra patients, you know? So
yeah,
you don't know really. It's so deep, the rabbit hole, really, really deep.
it is. I've heard about that. Yeah, they can use that to get inside somebody's mind and make them start to question their own sanity and eventually perhaps do something that they wouldn't normally do. And then we've also got from the spirit side,
Hmm.
as mentioned in Escape from Hell,
Hmm. Oh.
the fact you have um, spirits from lower dimensions or lower realms
Hmm.
that can draw close to people on Earth and also influence them. You know, if somebody who's a murderer and wants to go around the on the rampage, killing more people from the
Hmm.
lower realms,
Hmm.
they might think it's great fun to get into the aura of somebody on Earth and try and drive them to do exactly the same. So
Very
I
interesting.
did put in Escape from Hell at the end of the book.
Just to let me explain to the people who didn't see the first video, Escape from Hell is a book by James, also James McQuitty, about the different floors, or the different, you know, what happens after you die. It's not only flowers. Sometimes if you're very lower energy, James explained to me, you can be a very low energy place, not hell, maybe not hell for that we have in the Bible with fire and things like this, but a not happy place to be.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't be very happy there. Yeah, you would definitely. That's why you would definitely want to escape. That's why it's called that, really.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can get ones from those lower realms
Uh-huh.
who have been psychopaths, and I mentioned at the end of the book that Peter Sutcliffe, who was known as the Yorkshire Ripper over here, killed a lot of women,
Hmm.
and Ted Bundy in America, who
Hmm.
also killed women, or quite a few, I think. Both of them claimed that they heard voices telling them to do some of the things they
Yes,
did. You know,
yes,
and nobody's saying, well, no, I'm certainly not saying that they were quite innocent otherwise and that they wouldn't have done it, because there's the predisposition
right.
to be of that like mind to attract the
Hmm.
dark spirit to drawing close. But
Hmm.
imagine that it's like an amplification, isn't it?
Right.
You're already thinking, oh, I don't like women. I think I'd like to kill one, and then you've got some dark spirit coming in, who's already
Yes.
done that perhaps a
So
hundred
it's a
times before.
fertile, is there like a fertile ground for this
Yeah, you can,
elementals to come
yeah,
and therefore when we were speaking before, the importance of that your wife mentioned, to work our dark side, our shadow,
yeah, that's right.
to know the negative side of us and say, okay, I'm going to work on this to make it better, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because as I say, we can all lose our temper or whatever, and you can all get out of hand and do things that you later regret.
Yeah,
And it's learning to recognise that and rise above it, basically, and
right.
or know how to put it in a pigeonhole it or step away from it and take a few deep breaths, count to 10, as they say, and realise that you don't want to add fuel to the fire. So
Right.
you find another option
Hmm.
as best you can. Obviously, you've got to stand your ground sometimes.
Right,
Uh,
right.
uh,
Sometimes, yes. Mark
yeah,
Passio, he speaks about it. He speaks, you're not going to complain all the time, but sometimes you have to say no. You have to say, okay, you have to stand your ground, like you said.
yeah. Don't comply with anything that you feel or is not sure is for your real good, for
Mhm,
the benefit of yourself in particular.
mhm,
You know that they do use the ploy of saying it's, it would help others, but
mhm.
that is just psychology, as you were mentioning.
Right.
They did employ a lot of psychologists
Mhm.
and
Oh,
how to
yes.
promote
Oh, yes.
things.
Forever. Yeah, yeah. For a
Yeah,
long time. Long, long
yeah,
time.
yeah. One of the famous footballers in the UK, Matt Letizia, that was one of the things he
Oh,
mentioned in an
yes.
early one.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, he's mentioned it. I think I mentioned him in the book.
Yes, you
And
did. You did.
yeah, I quoted an article. And yeah, he said in the early days that that was one of the things that made him question everything, learning that the UK government over here had employed, out of a team of 6 or something like that, and 3 of them were psychologists.
Right.
And you think, well, why? Why? Yeah, so too many people didn't ask why.
I was really surprised when Mattis, yeah, started speaking about it. I think it was 2020 or 2021, because you don't expect somebody with sports person, who never cared about or less about politics or something, to start speaking about it. And he was very brave, and everybody went against him at that time when he started speaking on TV and everything. I think even he lost his job and everything.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised. I was really glad many people or woke up, in these 3 last years. And this is something that Edward G. Griffin was speaking with Mickey Willis when they were interviewed by InfoWars yesterday. He said many, many, many people woke up, and it was very good. But it's like a war between good and bad, the more people wake up, the more they press on us. The more people wake up, the more they press on us. I really enjoyed your book. And there's a moment I have to tell the audience, you're a hero, because you printed lots of papers and you gave to your neighbors. I have a friend who did the same in Canada. I want to know, when you printed this page, you speak about it on page 2, statement of facts, page 2 to 22. What was the reaction of your neighbors when you left these papers on their houses? Did they complain? Did they came to see you? What happened?
um, I don't know what the response was really. None of them ever. I don't know if they ever knew it was from me.
No, but never
Just,
mind. But did anybody said anything on the newspaper, on the bar, on the neighborhood? Did they talk between themselves? Did they ask? Did they mention in the supermarket? I don't know, the places that we go. Somebody left me this paper. Or
no, no. Apart from the people I gave an actual paper to were people I knew mostly.
I
But
thought you put in
I gave a leaflet through the door
yes,
asking
yes,
questions
yes.
about various aspects of the dark agenda. Like where some of the organisations were getting funded from, and vast funds, and so conflicts of interest, basically pointing out to people. But I just posted that through letterboxes. So a
Yes,
lot of those
that's what,
people,
yeah, and
I
you
never
know,
heard from them. But these days, all I can say is these days, when you bump into your neighbours, they all seem to know. They all seem to know these days that,
that's very
that
good.
yeah. I mean, some of them I know did have the intervention, as we call it, did have the procedure that they were brainwashed into having. But most of them now seem to know that
Good.
you can't trust anything they're saying,
Hmm.
especially with the climate thing.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
constant lies with that, and people are waking up to that. They're
Hmm.
realizing, why they keep on about it.
Hmm. So
Over here.
you think it's a solution to do what you did, to print and put your name in your neighbors' doors and
I think it helped. It was my effort to try and help,
hmm.
but I don't know if I was in time for most of them before.
Ah,
I think they'd already had their intervention, as it were,
hmm.
their inoculation,
Yes, yes, unfortunately.
supposedly.
Mm.
Yeah. So, but I hope it got a few questioning, and
Make them
hopefully,
think.
yeah, and also telling their friends.
Oh,
It's hard to know. Like lots of my books, you never know what the knock-on effect is.
yeah.
Sometimes I've had people eventually say something, and I did have something within the last year or so, and he picked up a second-hand book in another town altogether, and managed to find me on Facebook and sent me a message, saying,
Really? Oh,
yeah,
wow.
saying it made a difference. And I know the medium who used to help me sell the original book
Oh.
said he'd given one to somebody that was going to kill themselves,
Hmm.
and they read the thing on about suicide in the book and changed their mind on the spot. So,
Really?
so
Oh,
yeah, so,
which
so
book is it? Which book?
that
The
was the first version of Golden Enlightenment.
Golden Enlightenment.
Yeah, so
Oh,
the
so
the
they read
20.
your book and they decided not to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
brilliant.
so that was good, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah. So
So you
that
feel
was something.
you feel it was supposed to happen. You did something. You did
Yeah. Well,
change.
that was it.
You
The
did
book was.
change.
Yeah. Well, the book was there, and the medium, who's now passed on himself, was clever enough to give this guy a copy to read, and in the nick of time,
Oh,
because
thank God.
yeah, because he'd been talking to him, trying to get him not to kill himself, but eventually his spirit guide told him, give him a copy of the book and
Oh,
read
great.
that,
Great.
and
Yes.
then when he did,
Brilliant.
he changed his mind.
Oh, Spirit
So
Guide's amazing, amazing. And I always try, to teach to my animal communication students about it, but they don't practice, so they lose the connection with spirit word, and in the end they don't, few of them listen to spirit guides, reach the level of listening to them. But sometimes spirit guide is so amazing, and I say sometimes, "Oh, it's unbelievable, unbelievable the things that they download to you, and from the most menial things, silly things at home that you're looking for a solution, and then all of a sudden the solution comes and says it's there. Oh, okay, I'm gonna go and check it out, and it is.
yeah, yes, it. Every little bit of help is appreciated.
Exactly, exactly. So in the end, you spoke about a new book, and you said you're gonna, and you even say, if you were a medium and you got, or if you know of any spirit guide who sent a message who's not in this book, you can write to me. So whoever watched this video and heard from spirit guides, or went to a session with a medium and the spirit guide said something about the agenda right now, please let James know. He is in Facebook. You can write him a message, and James can put this new information in his new book. So when did you start writing already the new book?
Um, I haven't done anything major with it so far, but what I've been doing is every time I come across something I particularly think is of interest that may possibly be
Mhm.
something to put into a future book, I I drop them in, as it were, copy and paste, and drop them into the possible future manuscript.
Mm-hmm.
So they're there. I haven't gone through and edited it and decided what to include and what not to include. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to find a few more different trance mediums in particular, mm-hmm. who are receiving information, and get that information off them, via their recordings preferably, so you can hear it direct, from, mm-hmm. well, as direct as you can if it's in trance, because they're still using the medium's vocal cords to speak.
Yes, but, yes, the voice box sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, even better if they transcribed it themselves.
Yes.
Make my life even easier.
You live in the Isle of Wight, where David Icke lives. Have you ever met him and discussed with him? Did you give him your book? And he's very open, very, very open to spiritual word. Good.
Yeah, he's a nice bloke. I had briefly met him a few times. Mm-hmm. I know his ex-partner, or still very good friends with him, Linda. Mm-hmm. And she only lives a couple of turnings away from me, and David isn't far away either.
Oh, great.
So I'll occasionally bump into him. Mm-hmm. Sometimes there's funny places like Tesco's where we go shopping on the odd occasion. But I've bumped mm-hmm. into him here and there, and he came to something we had once at the house. But otherwise, I don't get into great conversations with him because he's so busy. Unfortunately,
of course, yes.
I'd love to sit down and have a good chat with him, mm-hmm. but he's always on the go. It makes me look like a complete lazy person.
No.
I am a complete lazy person, really. That's
no, you are the writer. You are the one who writes. Everybody has its role. And that comes to my last questions. What can we do? If you meet people and you inform them, what do you tell them? And say, just share, tell your friends? Or do you think people and like do what you did, do questions and put in mailboxes? What can people do to stop this agenda, non-compliance? What are your ideas about that?
Yeah, I mean, basically it is mostly non-compliance for yourself. I do, as I mentioned to somebody yesterday on a chat thing, I said, I haven't given up trying to wake up people, even if they've already had the procedure. Mm-hmm. I keep trying, but
yes.
In most cases, a lot of people don't want to know. But yeah, it's worth keep trying, I think, because you never know. The odd person might eventually get the message, and then they change. And as they all say, once you're awake, you can't not be awake. Once you've woken up, there's no going back.
Right.
So yeah, I would, that's I try and work out. Sometimes when I bump into people, we go for walks, and if there's somebody walking a dog, for instance, I might have a chat with them briefly.
Oh, nice.
And just say something like, something random, like you can't trust politicians or whatever. For some reason, bring it into a conversation and see how they respond. And
yes.
most of them these days agree totally.
Good.
They know, and then I expand it, and often they know all about. Well, they know sufficient anyway to not cooperate anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that lots of people that have been around here to do some jobs for us, plumbers and so forth, mm-hmm. They fell for the propaganda originally, but they've already said they're not doing it anymore. So I mean, the awakening is getting more and more and more all the time.
Good.
I think in one of the Zoom ones we shared with White Feather through Robert, where he said it's gaining, the awakening is now moving at gargantuan pace, or some words.
Moving where? Sorry, I didn't understand. Moving?
I think he said it's now proceeding at I think he used the word like gargantuan pace. In other words, really, really really big, better than they expected.
Mm-hmm.
So more and more, as I say, it's virtually everybody you bump into seems to be aware these days.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, there are still vast numbers. I wouldn't say they're totally asleep necessarily, but they don't want to delve into it, or they don't want to face it.
I think
Uh,
it's fear, isn't it? There's a lot of fear. Oh,
yeah,
if I say yes to this, they will leave me alone. But it's not true. And David Icke spoke about this. It's not true. They not let anybody alone.
no,
So
no,
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 we shouldn't say yes to anything, really.
no, definitely not. I think it was might have been Monty through through Warren James, the medium,
Mm-hmm.
said, if they tell you to walk on the right, I urge you to walk on the left, he said,
Yes.
or it might be the other way around. I think we walk on the right and they can walk on the
Yeah,
left.
right, right.
I think I prefer the right side. I was thinking earlier on today, the light is such a close word with right, light and
Oh,
right.
light and right in
Yeah.
English,
So
yeah.
the light is right. So I think to be on the right side, you've got to be on the light side.
Yes, yes. And we say in occultism, we say left-hand path and right-hand path. Right-hand path is the positive and good, and left-hand side is using magic or occultism for bad things, to make control people and to kill people and things like this. So it's always right. Yes, go on the light, go on the light, go away from this darkness. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, James. Do you want to say something else?
Well, I'd say also, yeah, use your intuition,
Mm.
to people if they're unsure, see how it feels in them. Do they want to say yes to something or not? And, in most cases, hopefully they think no or not now, and at least hold on,
Yes.
because I mean they're not going to give you anything that's good for you.
No, no, they're not have.
That's all a lie, 100% lie. I don't trust any of their procedures whatsoever. The only time I'd ever take anything prescribed is if I was in a lot of pain, but otherwise I'd try and work another solution for myself.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there's another book they can read also.
Which is Know
Uh,
Thyself. Yes,
yeah,
very good.
know thyself, be thyself. That's that says a lot. Oh, and I'll finish off with one for children. Adventures in
Adventures in Time and Space. That's for children, really.
that's for anybody, but I wrote that especially aimed at children. So
Good.
I just thought I'd mention them just for the hell of it.
Thank you, thank you. Yes, we had mentioned the first one, but it's the people who didn't watch the first one, the first
Yeah,
video, it's good to repeat it so they see your book. And of course, the most important, don't forget to read this. Give to your the Great Awakening. Give to your family, your friends. We're not in Christmas yet, but give to everybody a Christmas birthday present, so people start waking up. And
yeah. Well, you can call it an awakening present.
very good awakening present. Awakening.
Yeah, it might be the best thing you ever did for them.
Yes, yes, yes. I warned some people before, and they didn't take the procedure, and I'm so glad, because they are alive and they are well.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Would you like to say something else?
Well, we could finish off by saying not all procedures were the same. So
Oh,
people shouldn't panic.
mm-hmm.
If they're okay now, there's a good chance they'll remain okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
at least for a decent length of time.
Yes,
And then
yes.
on somewhere down the line, because we're moving in towards the fifth dimension, eventually there'll be ways that will help, even if you do get ill.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something to look forward to on the bright side. We are
Yes,
moving into a far better Earth with far better
yes. The more people who wake up, the quicker, more spiritualist, spiritual people wake up and get more spiritual meditation. Then it's the best. Then the collective will start waking up quicker, and we're gonna move to a better dimension.
A new earth, they call it.
New earth, better. It's like a philosopher here in Greece said that we're going back to the golden age.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's it. Well, I remember Sanea, one of the other spirit guides through Suzanne Giesman in America, said we've been through the dark ages, and she said we're currently in the dim ages.
How dim, we're stimming.
But we will be going to the new earth and new age and new higher consciousness.
Yes, higher consciousness, exactly.
Out of the dim ages and into the awakened ages.
Exactly. Thank you so much for coming today for interviewing. I'm going to finish thank you everybody for watching. I'm going to finish the recording.